Our number one goal is to be living up here full-time as soon as possible in spite of the weather challenges. 3 days ago we had 2 feet of snow on the ground. We've got about 10 inches of snow right now. We've had 3 days in a row in the mid-60s. It's supposed to be 69 tomorrow. The snow is melting off very fast. The road is still going to be a challenge for a little while, but we're prepared to deal with that. But this is a list of some of the things that we have to get done. The thing that's holding us up on the house right now is getting the concrete slab poured so we can start framing. The concrete slab has load-bearing footings in it, and we just missed by about 2 weeks. We missed the being able to get concrete trucks up here last year. We also have some plumbing that has to be laid before we can get the slab poured. So there's a fair amount of work. It literally could be 6 weeks to 2 months before I can get a concrete truck up here. And because of this, I've chose to focus on the shop as soon as I possibly can. My sawmill that I spent the last month and a half building, I'm gonna get that up here as fast as I can and get that set up in a permanent position where I can use that to mill the lumber that I'll use to build our shop. This is where I want the shop to go, right behind me. It'll be a long, narrow shop, maybe 20 by 40, something like that, and I am going to build the upstairs of the shop with some rooms in it. So if we chose to, which I'm hoping to talk my wife into, we could move up here before our house is finished. We would naturally need to get the water situation figured out and get the plumbing figured out, but if I had some bedrooms up here, it would be hard not to want to move up here. One of the other projects that I've been thinking about all winter is this big pine tree right behind me, big spruce tree. My 6 and 4-year-old kids have been talking about a tree house. I told them that I would mill the wood and build that tree house this summer, so that's one of the projects I have to get done. It's naturally not as high on the list of things to get done as other stuff, but I need to get that done regardless. I have to get the fence finished. My wife wasn't crazy about this chain link / barbed wire fence that I put up, but I didn't feel comfortable putting just a barbed wire fence across the front of our property. This is the only road up to our property, and it also accesses Forest Service. So there's going to be a fair amount of traffic during the hunts, things like that. Not excessive, but enough traffic to where I wanted to have a secure fence to keep my son and my daughter in. On top of that, just down the hill here, this is Mindy and Terrell's property behind me, is a creek. This creek normally has a trickle running through it. At least by the end of summer, it's about a trickle. Because of the excessive snow that we've had this year, it's rip-roaring down through here. If my 4-year-old son Reed fell in this creek, I'm not sure if he'd be able to get out. This is part of the reason I need that fence across the front to be secure, at least until he figures out what's going on over here. He is very close friends with Mindy and Terrell's son Tell, and so I know they're going to be coming back and forth. These are things we'll have to deal with living up here, but if I can do something to keep him safe by putting that fence across the front of the yard, I'm going to do it. If you can see all of these little trees over my shoulder, these are my Potawatomi plum trees. We have approximately 80 of these trees throughout the property, probably more than that, but 80 that we know of. I've pruned these trees and tried to keep them healthy so I can transplant them. Our plan is to transplant those plum trees across the front of the property. We've got about 350 feet across the front of the property. We would love to create some sort of a buffer between us and the road. If you look up the hill, you can see our house. The house is there. It's not that hard to see. It would be nice to have a little bit of a buffer between us and the road. By transplanting those plum trees and getting them all across the front of the property, number one, that gets them relocated in a way where they will do good. They'll have more direct sunlight, and also give us access to having them all in one place when it comes time to harvest the plums. My wife makes a really good jelly out of those plums that I look forward to having. We also anticipate putting raspberries, ever-bearing raspberries, across the entire front of the property. Over my shoulder is going to be our little backyard behind the house. There will be a walkout second story, a set of French doors that our kids can walk out. This little area right behind me is kind of a little, those young trees. I normally would have plucked those out of the ground and left the bigger trees, but my kids like to play in that area right there, so I left it. I've since decided to remove all those trees and put in as many fruit trees as I possibly can. For instance, apple, pear, cherry for sure, peach. We have a variety of peach that we know will grow up here. We will even do some nut trees, and we want to get those planted this year. We really want to get the raspberries planted, but we want to plant things that are going to come back year after year after year in reference to more permaculture. One of the last things that I forgot to talk about is a root cellar. We have this hill right behind our house, and I know a lot of the old timers around here would regularly keep an old cabin or keep a portion of a barn or something where they could go and cut ice off the lake, and all summer long they would have a place that was plenty cold enough to hang meat and to keep food. And so back in this hill right here, I want to build a root cellar, and I'm going to do this using recycled, or using just old tires. I'm going to kind of like those earth ships are built. I feel like that's a great way to build this root cellar. I'm going to build this in a way that if we ever did in fact lose a source for power, that we could still keep meat. I hope to be able to hang meat out here as we process our own animals, that as we're aging these animals if we choose to. And I can't think of a better place to do it than right here. I've got this hillside right here that would be perfect for it. So these are some of our major challenges. I'm looking forward to the challenge. I cannot wait to get that sawmill up here and start bringing timber up here that I can mill myself. To mill my own lumber and use that in my shop. I'm excited to do that. I cannot in this county use any lumber that has not been kiln dried. I have to use kiln dried lumber with my house, so I will have to purchase that lumber. But as far as my shop is concerned, as far as my barn, as far as any outbuildings that I put in, I can use my own lumber. We also want to put in a barn that can be used for raising baby calves. We have access to lots of dairy cows and young cows around here, and I feel like it'd be a great opportunity for my kids to get a handle on what it takes to raise these baby cows and keep them alive. And we're going to need to build a little barn for that as well, and so I'll pick a place around here to do that. But anyway, we've got lots of plans. We can't wait for it to warm up just a smidge more. Actually, I hope it doesn't warm up anymore. I just want the snow to go away. 68 degrees is plenty warm for me. But we have a lot in front of us, and we're super excited to dive back in and get living up here. There's something about this place up here that's magical to me. It really is. I fall asleep at night thinking about it. I wake up in the morning thinking about it. My biggest fear is that I could lose this property somehow. I worry about that. I need to take steps this year to make sure that I do everything I possibly can within my control. We're also really, really excited to have Mindy and Terrell just down the hill. We're talking about putting in a zip line from my property to his property. Terrell is one of my best friends. We've been through a lot of stuff together, and I couldn't imagine doing what we're doing up here with anybody other than Mindy and Terrell. Stay tuned.